Have you ever wished you could just know what someone was really thinking? Not just what they're saying out loud, but, the truth that's hiding just behind their words. Well, today, we're going to crack the code on the body's secret language. It's a set of signals that can reveal the truth that's been hiding in plain sight all along.
I mean, really, what if you could spot discomfort or hesitation or even deception just by paying a little closer attention? It sounds like a superpower, right? But it's actually a skill. It's a skill that's been honed by spies and detectives in some of the most high-stakes situations you can possibly imagine.
Okay, picture this. You're in a murder investigation. The weapon was an ice pick, a detail only the killer and the police know. An FBI agent is questioning someone, just casually listing off potential weapons. He says, "A pistol? Nothing. A knife? Still no reaction." But then he says an ice pick, and for just a fraction of a second, the man's eyelids flutter down and stay closed. It was a tiny, involuntary movement, what they call a blocking behavior, but that was the tell. That man confessed later on. And that story? That's not fiction. It comes straight from the field notes of an expert who reads these signals for a living. And this skill isn't magic, it's science. It's all built on understanding our brain's hardwired reactions to stress and truth. Our guide for this whole explainer is a guy named Joe Navarro. For 25 years, his entire job was to sit across a table from spies, from terrorists, from all kinds of criminals, and figure out what was really going on inside their heads. The interrogation room was his laboratory, and everything we're talking about is built on a quarter century of real-world, high-stakes observation.
So how does it work? I mean, how can a simple eye twitch actually betray a murderer? The answer lies deep inside our brain's ancient operating system.
Okay, so the secret is really this fundamental split that we all have in our own minds. Think of it like you have two brains. On one side, you've got the neocortex. That's our thinking brain. It's smart, it's analytical, and yeah, it's the part that can lie. But then, deep inside, we have the limbic system. Navarro calls this the honest brain, because it doesn't think, it just reacts. This limbic system is basically our survival center. It's been with us for millions of years, and its one and only job is to keep us safe. Its reactions to the world, a sudden noise, a stressful question, seeing someone you love, are instantaneous, they're subconscious, and most importantly, they are honest. It literally can't fake it, and those honest reactions are the source of every single tell. So how does this honest brain of ours respond to the world, especially to things it doesn't like? Well, it runs a very old, very predictable program with just 3 simple commands.
First, when we face what our brain thinks is a threat, our number one instinct is to freeze. Yep, just like an animal in the wild, we hold perfectly still, hoping we don't get noticed. If that doesn't work, our brain switches gears to flight. We try to get away, to put some distance between us and the threat. And only if both of those fail do we turn to the final option, fight. Now, we're not exactly running from predators in our daily lives, but these responses, they show up constantly. That freeze response, it might be someone suddenly holding their breath when you ask them a tough question. Or you might see the turtle effect, where their shoulders kind of hunch up towards their ears. And flight isn't running out of the room. It's just leaning back in a chair, turning your feet toward the door, or even just covering your eyes. These are all subconscious ways of trying to get away from something we find unpleasant. And the modern fight response? Well, it's not usually about throwing punches, right? It's about launching into a really heated argument, or making personal attacks, or just getting super sarcastic and aggressive all of a sudden. It's verbal combat, and it's triggered by that exact same ancient part of the brain. Okay, so recognizing freeze, flight, and fight is really powerful. But what happens after the brain has one of these initial reactions? It tries to calm itself down. And that right there is where we find the most common and reliable tells. These are called pacifying behaviors. And really, all they are subconscious, self-soothing actions. When our honest limbic brain gets stressed out by a question, or a person, or just a situation, it sends out a signal, hey, calm down. And our body responds with one of these little comforting gestures. To see just how powerful these are, get this story from Navarro's time in the field. He was questioning the mother of a really dangerous fugitive. He just asks her, "Is your son here?" She says no, but as the word no is coming out of her mouth, her hand goes right to that little dimple at the base of her throat. A classic pacifying behavior. That single gesture told him everything he needed to know. And guess what? They found the son hiding in a closet. Once you know what to look for, you are going to see these everywhere. Touching the neck, rubbing the forehead or your legs, stroking your hair, fiddling with jewelry. These are all just ways the brain tells the body to release calming chemicals to fight off that stress. It is an honest-to-goodness signal of inner discomfort. Okay, so you know about the honest brain, you know about the primal responses, and you know about these pacifying behaviors. How do you actually use this without jumping to all the wrong conclusions? This is probably the most important takeaway of all. The goal is not to become some kind of human lie detector. A pacifying gesture doesn't automatically mean someone is lying. It just means they're uncomfortable. Your job is to simply notice that shift, the shift from a state of comfort to a state of discomfort. That's where the interesting stuff is. So how do you do it? Well, first you need a baseline. How does someone act when they're just relaxed and comfortable? Then you start looking for changes from that baseline. A single gesture might not mean a whole lot, but a cluster of them, say crossed arms, a frown, and rubbing their neck all at once, that's pretty significant. And always consider the context. Someone shivering might just be cold, not nervous. Ultimately, this isn't about judging people. It's about understanding them on a much deeper, more empathetic level. You're not just spotting tells. You're actually learning to listen more closely to the truth. So when you walk away from this, what will you see?